not going to see much out of me. If I'm in a video and you guys get to see my face, I'm doing something wrong, because I should be at my computer painting animated movies and characters and building worlds and writing character scripts and balancing and you know. And I'm back. Yeah, I know, right? I said I wouldn't do this, but I am, because I think it's actually probably a good idea. And honestly, realistically speaking, it's not that hard to do a little bit of marketing for you guys. I think it's more than feasible for the team and I to give you guys at least one monthly update as we work our way towards that early access release. With the rate at which we are developing content, I have an opportunity here that I've not quite had before, where every month we actually have something that's kind of exciting to show. You know, for example, how did January go? Well, January went pretty dang good. Well, I start off with myself because I'm obviously the most, familiar with how I did. So for me, I'm hoping, I had this very optimistic plan going into this 16-month plan where I was like, I'm just going to I'm going to no life it. I'm going to go super hard right out of the gate, right? I'm going to go super hard because I want to create a lead, by pushing way past what I had scheduled myself and push even past that. So I can start creating a lead for myself, let's say 3 to 4 weeks ahead of schedule. So that way, if there's ever a time where I wanted to sit down and play some, Ark Survival Ascended or something like that, I would actually have the time to do that, right? That is not how this has gone. There has been a few minor, I don't want to say oversights, but a few little things that right out of the gate did not get included in that 16-month plan because, I'm a failure and I suck at everything that I do, right? So I kind of, what's the joke? Oh, no, it's the Benioff and Wise. Cue the clip.
While Danny kind of forgot about the Iron Fleet and Euron's forces, they certainly haven't forgotten about her.
I forgot to schedule a couple of things in on the outset, doing a solid emissives pass on our characters. For those of you who don't know, emissives is parts of texture that can light up. Well, I forgot to incorporate in the 16-month plan. I need to do an emissives pass and actually make sure that all of our Lichborn's eyes glow, and the Molten Legion, the heat vents on their armor glow orange and whatnot. And so I had forgot about that, and we developed some new technology to make sure that that works with our spine rigging system. And so that actually took a couple of days off. And then I had to get some Lichborn, implementing all the Lichborn structures into the game and kind of finishing up the polish on those and implementing all the particle effects for those. And so that also set me back. And then I also needed to do the Lichborn user interface, and that also set me back. So essentially, right out of the gates, it was like, actually, wait, hold on, you don't get to start on the things that you're supposed to be working on. You have to do a couple of other things first. And so I immediately got set back right out of the start. The gates open for the horse or whatever, and I'm just immediately lagging back. I'm trying to cue this clip from what's it called, Shark Tale. Who would have thought that I'd be using a Shark Tale clip? But it's when the seahorse is trying to break through the thing and he gets left by. Anyways, this is very random. I'm definitely behind, but don't worry, I'll mark my words. Either this clip is going to age like sour milk, or I'm going to be like, yeah, I'm him in 6 months time or whatever. But the idea is I will catch back up, even though I'm definitely behind now, because, remember the whole making an entire game fantasy world with all of this content that I need to do, stack that on top of, we're making an animated film right now, which I'll talk about in a little bit. Production's going very well. You combine all of that for one person while doing a day job, while also trying to still go to the gym and watch my health. But, it's difficult to juggle all this, but, that's how I'm doing. Ziad, our lead programmer, is also doing very well. He got the opportunity to move this month in his personal life, so maybe did not get too much time to work on programming or whatever. But what time he did have, he made the most of it. He did a huge refactor and made it so we can, for the longest time on the back end programming side of it, it was always just player versus enemy, and player was always on the left and enemy was always on the right. Well, he went through, gutted that code, refactored the shit out of it, and now we finally have a left side players, right side players. You can spawn in any plot. You can spawn in the upper plots, you can spawn in the bottom plot. So it's way more dynamic because he's laying the foundations and the groundwork for the multiplayer implementation, which is coming up very soon in the next couple months, and I will be sure to share updates on that as soon as we have something to show with that. But yeah, he did a lot of that. He did a lot of bug fixing. He's been working a lot on the AI. We're working a lot on the AI and trying to get it to figure out, why are we able to kick its ass so so much, I'd say that that's probably one of the reasons why the game is, but like, you know, you got to think about game development as like whack-a-mole, and trying to figure out what is the biggest thing that's killing the fun right now, and then whacking that mole. Well, right now, I'd say for Conquest of Eldinar, the alpha or whatever, the biggest mole is just the AI. You know, I think AI is one of the most, well, unless you're making a, you know, High Guard or some other, you know, lame ass modern PvP only kind of game, right? AI is really important for all the other games because AI is the thing that is going to challenge the player, and they need to experience challenge, because if they don't experience challenge, then they won't really care to engage with your game on a deeper level with all of its mechanics, right? So, you know, what I mean when I say this, for example, is, you know, Conquest of Eldinar is not going to really have a lot of replayability if our AI is not tight and challenging and really pushes you to engage with all of our mechanics on their maximum level. You know, for me in particular, I think the reason why I'm so excited about this with our game is that we have this unique gameplay mechanic of action combat. And by making the game as difficult as humanly possible, I can hopefully force you to play with that action combat, because a person who is really good at playing action combat will genuinely turn the tides of a battle. Because when you control units on our game, you will get a negotiable 15 to 25% stat increase for that unit that you're playing. You know, increased defenses, increased attack damage, etc. So you're really doing yourself a disservice by not picking your favorite unit and controlling that unit and having fun with it. But yeah, that's how Ziad's doing. I'm sure he'll get even more time to work on it the next couple of months, and now that the move is over, and I can't wait to see what he works on next. As far as our other artist is doing, Lindley, you know, she comes, like me, she comes from a traditional art background, so she's used to, you know, drawing paintings and concept art and illustrations and stuff like that. And I just had, you know, I'm very similar to her in that sense, but, you know, because I got into development slightly earlier than she did, I kind of got a head start on her with the whole 3D thing. But she is down for a challenge, and she can take on anything that comes in her path and just destroy it without mercy. So, you know, she acknowledged, okay, 3D is something we need a lot of, then I will be your 3D person. And she has been on that 3D journey the past couple of months. I've been doing everything I can to help her along with that process, teaching her everything that I've learned over the past year in passing that on to her. And she is immediately taking those lessons and creating some fantastic new artwork. She has used, you know, being not only the concept artist for the Lichborn structures, but also the modeler for some of the Lichborn structures as well. As she made the Shadow Altar, and she made the Crypt and the Watchtower. And all these structures are now in game, and they turned out fantastic thanks to her. So she worked on that the first half of the month. Then she has also been working on trees. You know, I'd like to avoid the asset store as much as possible. She loves nature. Hey, and she's trying 3D. So you combine all three of these things, and I think she is the right one to do trees. And looking at how awesome these things turned out, I think I made the right call. She's doing a great job with our trees, and you guys will be seeing these next month in the Avorn Forest map, which is the next and final map for Aranor. It is going to feature a bunch of these trees, so I can't wait to show off all the awesome 3D work that she's done. Last but not least, she has also been working a ton on the Hatchling film that we are working on, which I'm close to talking about a little bit more when I get to Brenton's segment, but the Hatchling is going very well. She's the lead environment artist on that film, and she is also responsible for all of the character paintings in the opening scene, which is a cave painting sequence that, you know, I don't want to give any spoilers because you guys will see more of it, but you see a lot of her really kind of, frankly, quite adorable Chitauri paintings and a really cool flashback kind of cave painting mural kind of sequence. And she's the artist on that. She did a great job. I couldn't have found anyone that could do a better job than she did. And last but not least, let's talk a little bit more about that hatchling by getting into Brenton, our lead video producer. So Brenton has been diving into the hatchling this month. Production has really started on that. All the pre-production is done. And so now he spent the early stages of this month really refining and fleshing out the process of finally like producing those shots on a really high production value, on a really high level. And I think he's done a fantastic job. You know, I kind of joked, you know, I wanted to make something that was as good as, you know, the Blizzard animatics or whatever that have come out the past, you know, ever since Warlords. They started making the Laurel Austin, fantastic artist. She started making those animatics with Blizzard, and they release a couple of those every expansion. I think they're fantastic, and that's that art style, that animation style is the lead thing that inspired us to create this. And you know, I couldn't have imagined that we would actually, you know, in my personal opinion, I think we're competing. You know, of course, she's a way better artist than I am, to be very clear. But I do think that we are creating, due to Brenton's production on these shots or whatever, that we are creating something that is just, it has its own unique art style and it is visually phenomenal. I think this looks great, and I'm so excited to see this movie when we fully finish it. It'll be around, you know, 14 to 15 minutes, and it'll come out in about 6 to 8 months. Should I say 6 to 7? Shut up. Stop. No. And so, yeah, I can't wait to watch that. That'll be great. It's going to be, hopefully, I think, an emotionally impactful story that has character and heart, but also spectacle and excitement. And is our first opportunity to really prove that Eldinar is not just a tropey sandbox that's purely meant for gameplay or whatever, that there's actual, you know, character and heart here that we are ready to share with the rest of you. You know, I want to get you guys invested in this setting for the long term. I really want to build up this IP to be a fantasy juggernaut. You know, I'll dedicate my life to it. So yeah, beyond that, January, pretty, you know, I think in essence, in summary, how did Mythward do this month? We did very good. We've had some setbacks, yeah. The workload that we have just been hit with right out of the gate is pretty massive, and every member of the team is feeling that across the board right now. And so it's quite intimidating starting the journey and just you have nothing but this mountain to stare at of like, I haven't walked on it. How am I going to be able to climb all the way up this thing? You know, like that's crazy. But, you know, I think we're all, at least on round one, right? We are just putting our heads down one step at a time, one day at a time, 1 week at a time. I think at the same time, though, there's like a rush of adrenaline and excitement as we're all just getting into it, and we all feel like really, you know, reinvigorated with purpose and excitement for what is to come, you know, because we're already seeing across the board, whether it's the film or the game or the art or the programming, you know, across the board, we're just every day we're seeing massive gains in terms of the product and what we're building. And it's just really exciting. And last but not least, I just thought I'd mention real quick that we're really close to having our first couple of tracks done for the soundtrack, made by the wonderful Thomas Thoreau, and he is absolutely nailing it out of the park. And I would like to close off this video by giving you guys another sneak peek at the main theme, which is currently in production. And I'll let that play me out. I'll see you guys next month. Let's keep doing these devlogs. Let's do one devlog a month as we work our way through this early access roadmap. You know, as long as I keep the production values low on them, this should only take me, you know, just a little bit to make the video, and so I can get right back in there and get right back to it. So I'll catch you guys next month. And remember, 16 factions, multiplayer, dynamic campaigns. This is going to happen, or I'm going to die trying. See ya.